Donald Trump also causing a stir today, a big mess, because, gosh, he thinks that if you're not going to come to work in Washington, D.C., then you probably shouldn't have a job. He's requiring all federal workers to come back into the office all over the country, by the way, not just Washington, D.C. I pick on Washington, D.C. because it's so obvious there that they got a problem. Only 6% of the people are actually showing up for work. So he's making a great deal. Hey, you can retire. You can retire. You want to work from home? You go do something else. And guess what? We'll give you 8 months. I think it's a pretty good deal for these people that don't like him and don't want to come to work.
Just for clarification purposes, because it was incorrectly reported yesterday, we have informed the federal workforce, which they've looked to do for many years, that if they're working for the federal government, they must show up to the office on time and on schedule. We don't want them. We don't want them to work from home because, as everyone knows, most of the time they're not working, they're not very productive, and it's unfair to the millions of people in the United States who are in fact working hard from job sites and not from their home. As federal employees, they must meet a high standard. They're representing our government, they're representing our country. If they don't agree by February 6th to show up back to work in their office, they will be terminated, and we will therefore be downscaling our government, which is something that the last 10 presidents have tried very hard to do but failed. Most of the people we're talking about have not been going to their federal offices in many years, from even before COVID. But they have nevertheless been paid. Some have worked, some haven't worked, and most of the studies say that some have just gone through the motions. We may ask these people to prove that they didn't have another job during their so-called employment with the United States of America, because if they did, that would be unlawful, as you understand. A lot of people are getting paychecks, but they're actually working other jobs, so they'll have to prove that to us that they weren't. In any event, we're requiring them to show up to work or be terminated. We think a very substantial number of people will not show up to work, and therefore our government will get smaller and more efficient, and that's what we've been looking to do for many decades, frankly.
Amazing, right? Amazing. Like, he's like, you have a choice. You can come to work, or you can do this work from home thing, but you no longer have a job, right? You're welcome to resign. Caroline Levitt said this yesterday. I mean, like, people are getting all confused about it. They're all freaking out. It's like, guys, like, you got to show up for work. I mean, how is that so hard to understand?
To return to work, and if they don't, then they have the option to resign, and this administration is very generously offering to pay them for 8 months. 6% of the federal workforce in the city actually shows up to work. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, it's totally unacceptable. And so we're doing something about it. But she's taking all kinds of flack, and Trump is taking all kinds of flack. That's why he had to clarify things today. She went on Fox yesterday to try and clarify it.
Well, first of all, he questioned President Trump's legal authority to do this, and the president has the legal authority to tell federal workers that within the confines of the law and their contracts, they have to show up to work. Only 6% of the federal workforce in Washington, D.C. actually shows up to the office. That's egregious.
Wow. So think about that. If you can get 10 to 20% of federal workers taking this buyout, you've just saved yourself a whole ton of money. Now, I know, like, it's just a little bit, but a little here, a little there, you know, this stuff starts to add up. We might actually be on the right track at some point. Of course, this is unbelievable. Not everybody is willing to leave their jobs. Not everybody is willing to take this gracious offer of retirement. In fact, there's this one lady who runs the Department of Agriculture. Check this out. This was amazing to me. And this came up, and Nick Sortor had it on Twitter. And I said to one of our producers, I'm like, hey, can you check that out, because I just want to make sure that this is true, because it sounds kind of crazy, right? And he was one of the first people reporting it. You have this woman who runs the Department of Agriculture who's literally refusing to leave her job. She was fired by the president and she had to be physically removed. Imagine if they got that one on tape, by her office, from her office by security, after apparently refusing to comply with the reality that, she no longer has a job. And so she got fired and she wouldn't leave. And I'm like, this can't actually be true. Come on. And sure enough, let's see if we can fix this. Yes, it is true. And you see it right here being reported there in Reuters. USDA Inspector General escorted out of her office. After defying the White House security agents, she was escorted by security. I guess they had to actually physically remove her because, she loves her job that much, she's not going anywhere. I mean, this one was really, really wild. But he's coming under a lot of criticism for some people that he's getting rid of and some people that do not want to lose their job no matter what, right? Don't forget, you got Letitia there, who's insisting that, she's got to protect all the people that may be going to Gitmo. You have his Justice Department announcing, not only did it fire the Agriculture Department, it's firing employees that worked with Jack Smith. And one would think he kind of has some ability to do this. I've talked a little bit about this, but I'm just going to tell you that, when you're the CEO of a company, you kind of need everybody on the same page. And if you've got team members who just are absolutely against your vision for the company, you really can't have them working there. And it's kind of up to you as the leader and manager of that organization. This is something Obama actually was quite good at. If they're not going to be with you, then you actually have to manage them out or fire them. And that's what he's doing. He's taking this real life business approach to Washington, D.C. And they're like, oh my gosh, because we've never seen anything like this before. Imagine that. We have to show up for work? Are you kidding me? I'm a federal employee. I can't be fired. Yeah, it turns out you can. So this is fascinating. And I do think it's generous. The 8 months is very, very, very generous.